All right, let's move on to Dune, a Star Wars
Oh,
story.
oh yeah.
Dune.
So I'm just gonna knock it out right away because I think I'm gonna do a clickbaity title. We obviously know
Okay.
Dune came before Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
What,
All
it
right.
did?
That being said, Marty, Aaron, any of you guys want to give some first impressions?
Oh, I guess I'll just go fuck myself.
Wes, have you seen Dune? Actually, Marty, Wes has something to say.
I've seen the original Dune, and I was very
The
confused. And I
David
thought,
Lynch version.
yeah, I thought they needed more Duncan, Idaho.
Now, did you did you watch that in confusion, thinking that was the one you were supposed to watch this week, or have you seen it before?
Did you hurt yourself in confusion?
Yeah, I took about 80% off there, but I did hurt myself in confusion. I was like, "Oh, Dune, I think I have that." My dad's like, "Yeah, we have Dune. We've had it for years."
Okay. Or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
I said, "Okay, let me take a look," and I watched it.
As the Bible.
And I was like, "Oh, I'll read the Bible for the podcast," and I did. And I was like, "This Jesus guy's a little iffy."
Yeah.
Sorry to all you. Sorry to all the religious fans of our show.
Paul's a bit
yeah,
Jesus-y.
the original one. I wasn't that impressed.
You're not impressed with the original Dune. All right.
That's it.
Marty.
All right.
Marty.
I mean, I've watched it the first time with you and not understanding that was part one. And the way they kind of build
it said it on the title
I feel like we talked about it.
Marty's like, this ending sucked.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. The movie
It was a weird place to end. It was a weird place to end.
What just happened? I was like, what? Like, it was so cool, but like, I was like so thrown off. I was prepared. I was like 2.5 hours, and that's where you end it. So that threw me off. Then I watched it again, knowing that like all of that happened, and it was like a million times better.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Now, both times on HBO Max, right, Marty? Okay, I think that's maybe important. Aaron, you saw it in the theater.
Oh, I saw it in IMAX.
Ooh. Aaron, our resident cinephile.
Again, my invite was probably lost in the mail. But
you said you already saw Dune.
I know you're busy on Saturday, Wes.
You don't know my life. Melonhead.
I do. That's why I knew I didn't need to invite you, because you weren't around.
I would have done it.
I don't believe you.
Too much.
So, seeing it in the theaters was definitely worthwhile, I think, because I mean, this is like the sort of space epic. I feel like if you talk about like space fantasy, I think this is as big like a book or franchise or property or whatever as there is in sci-fi. So
sure,
definitely seeing it in the theater, I think was worth it. It was loud as fuck. I don't know how the kind of sound mixing was for the HBO
I've heard
version,
complaints about the sound mixing,
but there were parts where, especially again, I saw it at the theater at the MGM, and there were parts where the music, because it's Hans Zimmer does the score, who's super he's really talented. You're making a case, Brian. Am I wrong?
No. Did it not come through? I was singing the song.
Oh, you were. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It cut out just for a second.
I got a gate on this, so if I get too loud, it probably cuts me off.
Shut the fuck up, Brian.
Yeah, there were definitely parts that were wicked loud and like was drowning out the dialogue, because one of my biggest problems with the movie is the whisper talking that they do a lot. That's one of the things like sometimes is frustrating, because they're like, here's a like info dump plot point,
and they're all new words too.
You miss half of it because
they're made up words.
And with like in a theater, I can't like throw the subtitles on. Like if I miss it or if whatever, like if
you can't go back
really fast,
can't pause.
Like I can't. I can't. Which wasn't a huge problem, because I was absolutely having no like prior experience with Dune. I hadn't seen the David Lynch movie and haven't read the books. I was able to like completely follow the plot, like no problem. And I think that's, they do that intentionally. Like Brian said, they kind of did a little bit of like the Lord of the Rings thing where like a couple like plot points were kind of either gently skipped over, like smushed together. Like I think Zendaya's character isn't even like a real character in the book and is kind of like a mashup of like a couple characters, if I've like read correctly about certain things. Like they do a little bit of that stuff where like, and I think Harry Potter even did it too, where like Hermione did like a couple things in the movie where like it was some other character that did this shit, but it's easier just to have it be
in Thrones. They're like, you know what?
Yeah, this absolutely.
Will make our movie 8 hours long.
We need to introduce a whole new person, just have it to be a main character that does this shit.
I will say though, the best part of this movie, just to kind of get into it, is like the scale and cinematography is like unbelievable. I don't think I've seen a movie in a long time. And again, like on the big screen, it was nice, but I'm sure it like looked, was just as impressive on HBO Max. But
oh yeah, because they got HDR, the scale was super got my well OLED. Done.
Totally, yeah. No, I'm sure like it looks great. I'm just saying like the scale, like the effects and the cinematography, were all like top notch. Which the dude and I cannot say the director's name right to save my life, but I want to say his last name is Villeneuve. Yeah. That dude has not made a single movie that's even just like decent. Like every movie that he's made is good to like excellent.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see him kind of piloting the whole things, and I do think that this was good. I don't think it's like a perfect 10 out of 10, but definitely very good, and I'm looking forward to the second one for sure.
Yeah, I'll echo everything you guys said. If someone was like, "Let's watch Dune again right now," I'd Dune it again.
I would have done it again.
Back in the saddle.
I'm thankful we had the captions because, like I said, there's some brand new words. I did think multiple times, man, I wish this was a series. And by the end, I felt I had watched 2.5 hours of a really good 5-hour movie that I have to wait.
I think this would have been so much better served as like an 8-episode HBO like miniseries
100%.
Where they can put 8 hours into it. That was literally like walking out of the theater. I'm like, I really, really wish that they had done that as opposed to, like Brian said, making, a 5 or 6 hour movie cut into 2 parts. But whatever. It's fine.
Weird,
it is what it is.
Weird place to end at. It was a little anticlimactic. Marty and I were like, huh,
I know.
I guess it's over.
Do you guys feel like when him and his mom crashed like in the desert, that was a good. I felt like there was a point kind of around there where like you could have cut it off and it would have been like a decently clean break from the action, like them escaping the like guards using their like the voice to control the guards. Like that bit was cool, and then I felt like they sort of got on their got through like the storm and whatever, and then it's like, all right, cut it off there.
Yeah,
it was like build up, and then have it be like they escaped and like, ooh, they're out in the desert now. Like, what's gonna happen?
Break it there.
Next movie, sort of thing.
But and I'm curious if
way ahead.
there's 5 total books. Dune Part 1 and 2 will be the first one. I wonder if maybe this will turn into a series eventually if it's successful. But
I think it could. I think
may have the problem
of recasting. To make it the first book. Yeah. I think it's fine if they just do 2 parts of the first book and then move on. Like I don't think it's something where they need to like. Dune is definitively understood as like, hey, you need to read all 5 of these books to really experience Dune. I feel like it's
read them again.
Like, oh, you can just read the first one and you're good. Like it's like Lord of the Rings where it's like or Harry Potter again, where you're like, you got to read the whole fucking thing, otherwise, you're not going to get like everything. I feel like it's not treated that way. So I think that would be a mistake to do that. It's gonna be like fucking Avatar, where like 20 years later, like you said, we're gonna be on Dune 12, and people are gonna be like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet is like 45.
Yeah. It's his son.
All right. So my because this movie's so long, I kind of did some very broad plot points. If there's some scene or something you guys want to talk about in between, stop me. So we've got Oscar Isaac, wonderful actor. Oh, Aaron's gone. He's very upset about my
Aaron
notes.
said, "I don't want to hear your recap, you little punk
We're
bitch."
either gonna do 2.5 hours talking about Dune, or I quit the podcast.
And he said, "I quit the podcast."
Yeah, I think we'll hang out for Aaron because Aaron's seen it. There he is.
Oh my god, that's Aaron.
And that's when I got my first direction from Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Oh, dude,
Wow.
him laying naked.
It
was like a fucking Renaissance
Aaron thinks
painting.
that he left and that we're already halfway through the movie.
Oh, I know. I know.
Holy
I
fuck!
seriously thought he was laying there. I'm like, he looks like that looks like a statue like Leonardo da Vinci would do.
Yeah,
He was very like posed.
Same thing.
I appreciate that.
All right, so Oscar Isaac plays. Was it Leto? Was that how we pronounce it, or Leto?
Leto.
Leto.
Atreides.
Leto Atreides is head of House Atreides, and he is assigned by the Emperor to replace House Harkonnen as the rulers of the desert planet Arrakis.
Oh,
Yeah, Arrakis is the only source for spice, which is used for interstellar travel. Can also fuck you up.
So spice.
Again, clear inspiration for spice in Star Wars, I think. Even though spice in Star Wars is not used as a fuel source, it's just drugs.
Classic
As
drug.
much of a fuel source, I thought it was just it laid the path to where they.
I thought it was
Darkness.
Key to interstellar
sort of
travel.
psychoactive. I thought it was a psychoactive drug that led
Help them
people
chart it?
to help them discover interstellar.
Okay.
It was more of that. Like it opened their
It's not
minds
fuel.
to understanding because the whole thing of
It solves the
sort of the
salesman's dilemma.
the one of the movie, the whole Timothy Chalamet's his character.
Imagine if it was a little bit of both, though, and it's like you could either drink your beer or use it to fuel your car in the morning. And I'm like,
Just
do I want another beer or do I want to not be able to get to work? And it's like,
you need a car that runs on piss. You
corn.
can just drink your beer and then piss right into the gas tank and then just be on
Drink
your
your
merry way.
I do that now. I drink my corn now, boys.
The whole thing of the sort of the one, and I'm not going to attempt to say the name that they have for it, but
To rule them all.
they were talking about that sort of person, the Messiah, who's going to
We'll call it Messiah because it's a weird word.
Yeah, they have a connection between themselves and time. It was something along the lines of they can mentally connect the points of space and time to kind of a higher level of knowledge, understanding of the universe, sort of.
Limitless.
So I think that's part of it. Yeah, is that the spice unlocks kind of a level of imagination or the thought process that isn't attainable normally by I want to say humans, but they're probably not only humans. Whatever fucking weird monsters and shit that there are. But I think that was kind of it. Either way, the big intergalactic travel tube thing that they would appear through was pretty fucking cool.
I just dropped the name for the Messiah in our Discord chat. Anyone want to take a stab at pronouncing that?
How do I pull that up?
Go to the text channel, general.
Oh, general.
I'm not going to do it. General channel.
Oh.
I think Hatterack's probably the second word.
But wasn't there another one? It was help.
Watsy. Watsy Hatterack.
Something like that.
Watsy Haterich.
Holmes and Watsy.
Holmes and Watsy Hatterack. Watsy Cataracts. There's my eyes. I'm blind.
Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna say sort of the Messiah or the one kind of whatever God character, not God, but Savior.
It's a little saviory Messiah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Or so the Bene Gesserit are spreading.
Bene Gesserit, yeah.
So it was at this point when we talk about the Bene Gesserit that Marty got real into eugenics.
Who doesn't? Yeah, sabermetrics.
Yes.
Happy that's where we're going.
Anyway, so Paul Atreides is the son of Leto and Lady Jessica. Lady Jessica is part of the Bene Gesserit, which is a all-female order of these magic users.
They're like witches, kind of.
Yeah,
it struck me as like a coven.
They're a coven of space witches and
secret coven.
The secret coven of space witches.
Tell me about it.
The head of it advises the Emperor. Jessica's been trying to train Paul in their ways, but essentially Jessica was supposed to have a girl as a kid and made Paul. The Wikipedia note says that she was supposed to bear the Messiah character.
That's well, I read.
Yes, the daughter. Yes.
They mentioned that, she's supposed to have a daughter, but that I guess in the book they say that she manipulated her pregnancy to force a boy because of the prophecy about like the Messiah is going to be like someone again who can kind of like meld the two sort of schools of thought or whatever, and so that that they basically said that they would come from the bloodline because part of the Bene Gesserit was to curate like a bloodline to get Messiah, kind of like they say that they were yes, exactly, like choosing certain people like Oscar Isaac to kind of hope, that they're gonna fucking hit the lottery there, the genetic lottery. Get a Timothy Chalamet, buff,
the perfect
145.
Man.
It's pronounced Charlemagne.
Another guy where I feel like they kind of want him to be physically intimidating, and that's just something that he's not.
Like, we get to see Jason Momoa pick him up like he's a rag doll.
Well, he fights Josh Brolin in like hand-to-hand combat, who's big. Like Josh Brolin is like big in that movie, like big arms. Like that dude is, he's like 6, whatever.
I wouldn't fight Josh Brolin anywhere. So
yeah,
not in space.
Fucking little Chalamet.
Not in the movie. Not in the house. Not with a mouse.
Could not on a boat. I would not. Could not with a goat.
Absolutely, I would not. Could not with a friend. I would not. Could not. Lend a hand.
Limestone.
100%, boys.
So the head of the Bene Gesserit, which has a title that's also a weird made-up word, comes and gives Paul this impulse control test, where she's like, "I'm going to kill you if you can't take this pain."
What's in the box?
What's in the box? It's like pain. Pain is in the box.
Damn.
It's like, why would I put my hand in the box? Because your mom told you to.
Mom said,
because you told me to.
I say, take your pants off.
Anyway, he passes the test.
What?
So she's not going to kill him. He can control his impulses. So if he becomes powerful, he's not going to be a bad guy, basically. Or go against their wishes. Or maybe he will. Who knows?
Bum, bum, bum.
Anyway, they're going to Arrakis. My notes go through a lot of this, so again, stop me. But they meet the chieftain of the Fremen, who Duncan Idaho finds after he shaves himself in... Yeah, Javier Bardem is the head of the Fremen.
No, I kept wanting to say Freeman.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Freddie.
Fremen.
You're thinking of one home run, Freddie Freeman.
460-foot bomb, baby.
Let's go, Frederick. Frederick Freeman's about to raise his first trophy, boys. Continue.
So Jason Momoa gets back from the desert and just shaves his beard, and it was horrifying, to be honest. Jason Momoa without a beard. What did you guys think?
I think him without a beard is fine.
I hated it.
Was that like a thing for another movie? Like, what was the reason?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he had his beard in the beginning of the movie. He goes out to the desert, stays there for weeks, and comes back, and he's like, "Oh man, I need a shave." Like, you left with a beard, dude.
He knew that he was going to need the beard to help him in
Duncan Idaho, sex icon.
Duncan Idaho is a sex icon.
Duncan Idaho, sex architect. Ted Mosby, sex architect.
I was going to say, is that one of Ted Mosby's aliases? Duncan Idaho.
So they meet with the chieftain of the Fremen. Javier Bardem.
They're pieces of shit.
And they basically do a roommates agreement in a sitcom where, like, you stay on your side of the room, I'll stay on my side of the room.
Yeah, just don't fuck with me.
And Oscar Isaac's like, deal. But if, some bad people go to your side of the room, I'm going to help out because I'm a good guy.
Yeah. Oscar Isaac was cool. Seemed noble, like a decent leader in terms of, like, he was like, no.
He was a little Ned Starky.
These guys. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Where they're like his whole way that he wants to rule by, like, aligning people isn't in the best interest of everyone. So they're like, we got to do something about this guy.
Yeah, he's got too much honor and gets killed.
Mm-hmm. I was going to bring that up. Like, did part of you? I had no backstory on Dune. Did part of you think that he was somewhat a bad guy? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, whenever I see you get into a military formation, I just kind of assume that
evil.
Assume the worst. Yeah, kind of the worst. Like, I wasn't sold on his intentions, I guess, is my point.
I thought he seemed like a great
disagree
father.
With that. It does seem like, at least in the context of the movie, that there were a couple of times where, like, the music was setting a certain tone.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, where's the moment where he's going to be, like, secretly doing a little bit of conniving backstab?
But he's 100% a good guy. There's no
I would say they showed nothing in the movie that would imply that, even up until, like, the very end. But I agree that I was expecting a little bit before the actual.
Okay. I was curious if I was the only one.
No, you're not wrong, for sure.
And maybe the tone that they tried to portray, but maybe didn't drive home, is this idea of colonialism, where he's,
Well, I totally thought there were some anti-capitalists.
Yeah,
like,
he's an honorable man, but full into colonizing the planet.
Sure. He's still not going to go against, like, the general, not enslavement, but, like, the oppression of, the native people that live there.
Imperialism and whatnot. Anyway, so you stay on your side of the planet, we'll stay on ours. They learn about the sandworms. They're big, pink, and scary.
So this bit for me, the sandworms, there were a couple moments where I realized that, like, SpongeBob, the episode with the sandworms, like, directly references Dune a handful of times. Like, not even
does it really?
But the whole bit of, like, oh, that's a worm sign. I'm like, I remember in SpongeBob where Sandy, like, bends over, they're, like, tracking the worm, and she's like, oh, worm sign, and then it cuts to her hand, and it's a little wooden sign that just says worm on it. I was like, oh, fuck me. Like, those are, like, I never realized that those are legitimate references to Dune.
Oh, fuck me.
I totally in the theater, like, grinning a little bit. It was one of those things where, like, you finally see, like, the thing that the meme was from, or what, what I mean? Like, one of those things where I'm like, oh, I kind of made that connection. Because, again, I always knew that there were worms in Dune, but I didn't know that, like, SpongeBob, again, kind of was making multiple references, like, direct references to Dune in that episode, which
fucking
I was like, oh, it was nice to come around. Like, because that's not some shit you'll get as a kid. Like, no way you're reading Dune at, 8 years old when you're watching fucking SpongeBob. But
we
what if you are, though? You'd be a fucking maniac person if you were,
a crazy
though, right?
person, man.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's an incel who's doing that. Sorry if you're that person.
Just like a child prodigy or something. I don't know.
That's what I said.
One way or the other. All or nothing. Child prodigy, incel, one way or the other. Fuck.
Yeah, go ahead, pal.
Sorry.
I was just like, oh, motherfucking worm sign. I'm like, that's, like, direct from SpongeBob.
You're like, wow, they really copied this from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah. It is a ripoff of SpongeBob.
Wait a minute.
So and George Lucas took it from SpongeBob.
He did, that son of a bitch.
They witness the sandworms' might firsthand when they have to rescue the workers on a spice harvester. Paul, for some reason, takes his mask off to talk to people and gets fucking
he's dicking around there,
wavy on some spice.
Like, wow, you're sensitive to this hallucinogenic, like, drug that floats in the air. It's like, no, just wear your mask, you dummy. Like, of course you're sensitive. Like, you've never been to this planet and are breathing in, like, all this dust that's, a psychoactive drug.
Drug dust.
Yeah, of course.
He's probably just like, I can handle it. He just snored a little bit. It's like, oh, fuck.
Karen said he's 135 sopping wet. So.
Oh yeah, Timothy. Yeah, he's a tiny man. And I have no problem with that. But
Timothy
he's no Jason Momoa for sure.
Jason Momoa could snort all the spice on Arrakis, but
yeah, exactly. He could drink with like Thor. I think
I could drink with Thor.
I appreciated this bit because I wasn't 100% sure how kind of intimidating they would make the worms, like the sandworms. I wasn't sure because again, you had a little bit of the scale from the trailer of like the worm sitting there, and that scene was actually in the movie, which I was surprised. But either way, I actually thought that scene had a decent bit of tension of them rescuing the guys. Like you knew it was going to happen. Like of course something was going to go wrong. While they were out there, but I think they actually did a good job. And then the worm ultimately coming and fucking again, like great sense of scale with seeing how big like it actually is, and instead of kind of the head coming out like the sand just opening up and getting sucked into like the Sarlacc pit of it was just gone.
I don't mind seeing how big the head is.
Nice big Sarlacc pit.
Anyway, so the Doctor of House Atreides sells out the house by shutting off defenses in exchange for his wife's safety, which leads to an attack from the former planet's rulers, the Harkonnen, which is...
That seems like a bad deal.
It was a dumb deal. No, the Harkonnen were probably going to attack anyway, because essentially the Emperor wants House Atreides out of the way because they're growing too powerful or too influential.
Yeah, he's like, you guys go to this planet and displace this crazy kind of like sadistic race of people, and then the Emperor secretly goes behind their back and like bolsters the armies of like the sadistic planet that they just wronged, and then they're like, hey, if something happens, it happens. Maybe go attack, maybe don't. But I don't know, I don't know anything about it. And then it's just like, oh shit, all of a sudden fucking Atreides is just getting like bombed in the middle of the night, basically.
I
think the point was to put them there, right? Because it's just it's the worst planet to possibly be on. So even if anyone escaped, they weren't going to survive in the desert. So
I think that was the intent.
You put my volume down.
I thought the scene of the attack, like once Oscar Isaac went down and the little thing kind of penetrated his shield and like knocked him out. Once they like woke up, like right after they woke up Josh Brolin and were like, the shields are down, fuck, and then all of a sudden like they're just running out into sort of like the open air like hangars and shit where all the ships are, and then all of a sudden just boom, like the ship kind of in like the background gets blown up, and again pretty like impressively the special effects throughout that whole bit of crazy shit kind of happening around them was really impressive. I definitely liked again the sense of scale with all of that, with the ships like crashing into each other, and I appreciated how the bombs would kind of hit the shield and like slowly kind of burrow into it and then hit.
Yeah, the shields were weird.
The ships,
but I guess I heard someone explain this, but it has to penetrate the shield slowly for it to work.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I think they say that in the.
Makes sense to me.
There I go. Marty's mad about me lowering his volume.
And about his penetration shields.
I really liked the the head of the Harkonnen, the fat guy who flies, Vladimir Harkonnen, the Baron.
Yeah, I thought he was a giant snake at first or something.
Yeah, I couldn't tell that he was flying until
he was really tall.
He had like. Well, and I thought, like, does he have like telekinetic abilities to some extent? But I guess that thing in the back of his neck that they kept showing, like, on his head a couple times, is like sort of like an anti-gravity thing.
Oh, you mean the inhibitor chip?
Yeah, the inhibitor chip.
Because he's so giant and fat that he basically can't like walk around.
Tritium,
he's a massive Tamora Morrison.
The bit of him sitting at the table eating. To Oscar Isaac, again, like naked, like stripped down after they attack on the other side of the table, totally reminded me of the scene in Return of the King with King, is it Denethor?
Where he's eating all the chicken
just
and shit.
Munching away on all the food. He's eating
for me, boy.
Tomatoes. And the tomatoes are like popping in his mouth and shit. Like it's
just leaking.
It's pretty it's pretty fucking ghastly. And like
they're showing him just pig out while fucking Faramir gets slaughtered at the fucking river's edge.
It did remind me quite a bit of that because he is just munching away on that food, and I'm like, ugh. Just slurping on shit and like, he's having a grand old time.
And they're like, "Here's gonna eat some oysters," and you're like, "Ugh."
He's shucking them himself. Like,
so the doctor who sold out House Atreides, he does give Leto the old poison tooth. So
he does the old poison tooth trick.
You need the poison tooth, man.
So when he's talking to the Baron, he could get him to lean in real close, and he bites the tooth. And it'll kill him.
So he kills himself?
Yeah, he starts mumbling. Well, he's going to die anyway. And the Baron's like, what did you say?
Secret.
Well, I have a question, right? Like, and I definitely have not seen this new version. The last one I saw was a long time ago. And I think I was just like 8 years old.
Was there a poison tooth?
Not even the poison tooth thing. So, like, it's the same guy that was like, "Oh, I'm going to save my wife."
Yep. What about
why not just like ask the current management to help save your wife?
Why don't you put an extra few hours of shift in,
Well,
just work harder.
Essentially, I think House Harkonnen was like, we're going to kill your wife unless you cooperate. So give us an answer now or she's dead.
How would they kill his wife, though?
She was enslaved or something?
Don't marry slaves that you can't free. Right?
Number one.
I think that's the number one rule.
My grandfather
two,
always told me.
The Bene Gesserit said that they had to protect the wife and the son because they were like, oh, they have the voice, like they have our power, which is way more important than any like bullshit factions. Are like, we don't care what you do with Oscar Isaac's character, but don't kill that guy. Don't kill the you can't kill the queen,
the space witches.
Son,
maybe like
is way more important.
Like when Hopper's gonna squish the queen. Maybe I'm punching above my weight class here since I haven't seen this film, but I just don't see the. I would have been like,
motivations were a little weak. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it's questionable.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been like, hey, current people in charge, just like I got this offer, and I'm not gonna go with it because I'm loyal. But like, can you save my family, bro?
And maybe someone who's read the book. Maybe someone who's read the book could, say, "Oh no, the doctor had plenty of reason."
The doctor's motivations.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. Seems confusing to me that was like I would never choose the side of the attacker. I'd be like, "Hey, we have."
I mean, he's immediately killed. Like he's immediately like betrayed and killed. They're like, "Oh, you promised to be my wife," and they're like, "No, I actually promised that you could." Meet your wife or whatever, and he's like, "You're gonna meet her," and then fucking slits his throat. Like, yeah, like it was clearly like obviously the fucking villains are gonna betray.
Well, I feel like that play never works out. Like,
no, never.
Well, this was the '60s. No one ever tried it before.
That might be fair. I just feel like
it's the 10,060s.
They'd be like, "Hey, you better turn over the entire city's defense grid, and in exchange, I'll send you your wife." I'm like, "Yo, bitch, my wife's already dead if that's the case, so you can go fuck yourself." Like, come on, man. Like, the bad guys that are going to try to fuck up the city are probably not going to be like, "Oh, here's your wife, bud, go live free." It's going to be a problem. So I'd be like, please stop calling.
I mean,
just maybe prank call.
So Harkonnen's being backed by the Emperor. Maybe, he's got a trustworthy or like, oh, the Emperor's got my back. I'm not going to wrong you. Emperor's behind me. We're making a deal. The Emperor wants this. We'll get your wife. Like, he's got, I can't think of a good word to, a reputable backer.
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
like, I'm a dick, but the Emperor's backing me up here, so.
Yeah, if like Adam Schefter shows up to negotiate the deal, I might take it. Yeah. But like, they'd have to send somebody.
Right,
really.
We're spending way too much time on this. So.
That's fair.
I think no matter what, they're losing this war. So the the Baron doesn't actually get killed by the poison. He's flying on the ceiling when they go in and clear them out. So he's hiding from the gas. Meanwhile, Duncan, Idaho, and some others sacrifice themselves so Paul and Lady Jessica can escape. They crash in the desert. The Fremen find them. And one guy's like, I don't like you, Paul. Let me fight you.
So I think part of that that bit had to do with the fact that Javier Bardem's character basically got manhandled by the I'm gonna say
Lady Jessica,
like the concubine or whatever, but yeah, Lady Jessica, and that guy was kind of like, all right, you're our leader and you just got your ass whooped by this strange woman we just met in the middle of the desert. Like, I don't consider you a leader now. Like, I'm not gonna follow some dude who just got, his ass whooped by a stranger. There's a little bit of like,
back in that time.
I'm gonna challenge back forward in that time, 10,000 years from now or whatever. It's like what it was 10,000 like 640 or something. I forget what year it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the year is 10,000. 10,191.
Those lines. 191. I think it was a little bit of that where he's like, all right, I'm gonna challenge you guys, and instead of him fighting her, he's like, now I'm going to be the fucking leader and kick her ass. Chalamet steps in to be sort of her quote unquote champion, and then is in the business a little bit. I thought it was funny, not funny, I guess, but I felt like Zendaya's like character in the trailers and like stuff was a little bit of like a tease, kind of like she wasn't in it nearly as much as I think people thought she might have been. Like, she was not really in the movie at all, which I think a fair amount of people going in and like judging by the trailers are going to be like, oh, gonna see Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. And like Lady Jessica was arguably kind of the 1B character to Chalamet's like 1A.
Yeah.
She was in it probably more than almost anyone.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
I would say, yeah.
More than Oscar Isaac, more than Momoa.
I thought and I was surprised again not knowing the story of how many like kind of the big name actors die.
I
film.
I didn't
like
know
Momoa
they'd kill
ends up dying. Oscar Isaac, like they did kill a decent chunk of the cast. Like again, this is the first half of the first book, so that was kind of exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one, but my biggest, yeah, exactly. No, and Batista was good. Like, didn't do a lot in terms of like talking or whatever. I probably
in terms of his entire career.
Batista's good. I don't hate
he's all right.
Dave Batista.
I mean, he's a good wrestler. Top.
Yeah, well, he's good as
top 7 guy in this.
He's good in a couple. He's in a couple movies.
Yeah, he's better than The Rock. So,
I definitely agree with you guys though. Talking about just like the spot, the placement of the ending was a little odd, and I'm definitely of the camp that this would be a lot better as like a 6 to 8 hour HBO miniseries in like 1 hour installments that come out over like 2 months or something, than this being a 2.5, 3 hour movie that is the next one comes out 2 years from now. It'd be nice to just have like the next bit kind of ready to go.
So yeah, Wes, for context, because my plot maybe didn't spell this out, but we have this huge build up. There's a big attack on House Atreides. And then there's like 30, 40 minutes left of Paul and Jessica wandering the desert. And then a semi-anticlimactic fight with the Fremen. And we meet Zendaya, and it's like, well, let's cut it here.
And so a couple of the people that I was with yesterday had read the book and were talking about how like all of that part was like so expedited. Like that fight doesn't happen until like they've been with the Fremen for like a month or two or more. Like it happens kind of far later into them meeting the Fremen, and that like they didn't really build it up either. But that guy is supposedly like some like really like badass warrior, like basically like this undefeated killer that they're like, oh man, you're fighting this dude, and then Paul beats him, like, and then they're like, oh my god, and then they kind of didn't do that. It was Zendaya's like, he's probably gonna kill you, and then that was kind of their introduction. Also, the bit of
Zendaya's like, hey, I'm Zendaya.
I guess I guess they skipped over because they had the. I'm sure you guys saw them riding the worms at the end.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was sick.
So that
That's
is
what the
also
hooks
like
are
a
for.
really. That's a really big part of, I guess, like a chunk that maybe it'll be in the next one, but that they didn't talk about was that Paul, like in the book, because throughout the
Desert
movie,
power.
like they throw all these tests at him, and like despite they're like, oh, he's totally gonna fail this, he's gonna fail that, he literally like sort of somehow passes like every single test that he's involved with or is kind of thrown at him. I guess one of those is the Fremen are like, hey, we're gonna, teach you how to ride a worm now or whatever. And then he's like, oh, I can do that, and just fucking hops in the worm and starts like tooling around. And they're like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Why are you so good at this shit? And like, that's something that, which I understand why they glossed over it, but was like a big part too of him just like confirming like, hey, he's the guy,
Yeah, a lot of the locals keep muttering like what I would assume is the prophecy, where it's like, oh, he'll know how to ride worms.
Yeah, well, and they talk about that the sort of the witch coven was like spreading the rumors around like
the path has been
the
laid.
universe or whatever, that the path has been laid for like you to step into like this prophecy to kind of fill this role of being like this person. Yeah, cool, but I agree that they could have cut it. I don't know how like it would have been with the length of the next movie, but if they had cut this movie like half an hour shorter, it would have been better, I think.
Yeah.
As far as like the pacing is concerned, because
Not
it does
knowing what's
lull a little
going
bit
next,
at the end.
maybe we'll have better criticisms in 2 years, but
yeah, I think that's true.
From the conversations that we've had and the description that we had, I just think it's definitely way better off doing it as a mini series, because you have so much to do. You can't make 8, 12 movies. Just do it as a mini series and just do like 10 episodes.
Even if you just do the first book,
and we're done. Even do all 5 books, 10 episodes a book. You do them an hour long, so you get 5 hours for each book.
The level of production value that they've had,
I wonder how that works with like getting all those. You got a lot of A-list actors, like,
yeah, you'd have to definitely
work with a miniseries,
pay less money.
It's definitely a money thing, but like nobody's ever made a successful Dune, so let's just Dune it.
Fair.
Let's Dune it. Let's Dune it for real.
All right, so
knowing it was a setup made it a lot better the second time.
I'm sure it's good. I'll watch it eventually.
It's kind of like a Lord of the Rings, the first Lord of the Rings.
Basically, Star Wars.
A long episode, or a long movie with just kind of like a build up.
You could have done it with Lord of the Rings too. You could have done fucking 10 seasons of Lord of the Rings, and you could have went into everything.
We're gonna get a series.
You could have sang every song.
Yeah, you could have sang every song. You could have Bilbo'd every Baggins.
Lines of
Bilbo'd and Frodo'd every Baggin.
All right. Any final thoughts from anyone? I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to part 2.
I
agree with that.
I thought it was a great setup. Like, it's tough. They're introducing an entire world, and I thought they did a great job introducing everything. Everything made perfect sense. I watched the movie and hear everything get explained, and there's not really a hole that I see in there. So I thought it was really good, and if I had to give a rating, I would give it an 84 out of 100.
Whoa. I'm totally keeping track of those.
Brian, I want you to go back and listen to every podcast and every movie.
I listened to the whole thing instead of fast forwarding to the end.
That's it.
Mr. Laramie?
I agree with Marty. I liked it a lot. It was a great setup. I thought, all the acting was good. I think the special effects were like top notch. Like I said, I think the scale is super impressive. Like all the cinematography, the music and score was all good. Like there was almost nothing that I had a legitimate issue with, other than maybe we talked about the pacing and the editing a little bit. But also this, Dune is a book as big as the Bible, so there's a lot of shit there. So I get why they're again clumping certain characters or plot points together. But overall, really good. I think Marty's pretty much right on. Like I would say B+, like A-, maybe around there. Like I would go high 80s. I would say definitely not perfect, but certainly like very good. Like, I don't think there's any doubt that this, it merits a sequel for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go just a 0.1 above Marty, 84.1. That's my rating.
You're a fucking douchebag.
What are you doing?
But yeah, I think us saying it should have been a miniseries is more praise to it because we liked it enough that we wanted more.
Things could have been more in depth, and that would have been a good thing.
Yeah,
like, more of Oscar Isaac and more of some of those other, like, the build up to like kind of the betrayals and whatever would have been nice. Like, because I think that would have made some of the things that didn't feel as earned, like the fight at the end and other things, like have more weight to them.
For sure.
If they were, paced a little bit better with some of the plot points from the book. But yeah, definitely good.